That is only logical. In primitive societies, this was exactly the same. In Greece, in Rome, and we see already that these economic principles turned towards convenience. Let's take the example of Greece. After proper government, said Plato, the government of patriots, of patriot families, the ones that had given rise to city-states, it was them who held the government and who supported the state. When the Eupatrias law was enacted by the time of Theseus, patriot families stepped behind from government and gave protagonism to the peoples and to economic forces. And we see that when they left, they took away the rent and forced new governments to implement taxation systems to punish labor production and surely consumption. That resulted in the stagnation that Greece suffered and the subsequent collapse of the Greek Empire. And this is similar to the state we have now in Argentina, a state of constant tension. Let's take an in-depth look at what happened in Rome. The propetas was the rent system in Rome. They detected which were the productive properties of land, just like we do today to detect the worth of a mine or of an oil well. And in doing so, we see what resources may be derived, or in the case of a pond, for example, what fish production may be obtained from it. The idea was to determine on the land what were the production capabilities of that piece of land, the properties. And based on that, they applied the propieta, which was some sort of rent. By the year 350 AC, the patrician families stepped back and a law was enacted that gave the peoples the government in exchange for the patrician families retaining the land and owning the land and the rent derived from it. And not only the piece of land that a man may need for his or her survival, but making land and land ownership a business.
And these give rise to the famous phrase, land owning will cause the decline and fall of Rome. So the tribunes of the people start to govern Rome, but they do not have resources because landowners had took all the resources for them. So 100 years after, the first civil wars erupted. The first one in 130 before Christ, with Tiberius Gracchus being killed with 300 senators after him being thrown into the river. Some years after, trying to lay a restriction, his brother, Caius Gracchus, was also killed once again by blows on their own heads. And in this way, Rome started its decline and later fall. Imperial peace was in fact impossible to be maintained. So this phenomenon was also seen by the Jews. Rent is called ransom, and Yahweh says in Leviticus 25, it says, "This land is mine," Yahweh says, telling his sons, "You are pilgrims and strangers to me." He doesn't call them sons or daughters of God. They are just pilgrims, aliens, strangers, because of the land. And if they own land, they should pay ransom, so to speak, in the sense of paying rent. Think about the Roman proprietas or ownership system, land ownership system in Argentina, and Alberdi is not studied here at the School of Law as such. It has disappeared, the idea of codes being common in the field of law and in the field of biology. When Christianity emerged, it brought a message to end with the cruel taxation system based on Roman laws, pursuing and chasing workers all the time. Let us mention the case of Spartacus, his father being killed, crucified because he had not paid taxes. That reality, the one of Spartacus, generated 6,000 crucified and more than 30,000 killed people after the Roman revolt against forced taxation. This is the reason why they wanted to change this system into a peaceful, egalitarian taxation system. When revolutions break out, they are based on these ideas. I won't go into details because Fred Harrison mentioned all these details very well yesterday. The latest rent-based system was emphyteusis in Argentina in the times of the so-called May Revolution. These were the times of independence war. They try to change the rent-based system, which was then, of course, enshrined by the Constitution in Argentina, which was passed in the year 1853. Of course, the government must, of course, base himself, when they want to collect taxes, on this type of taxation system. When the rent-based system vanished, this new taxation system emerges. Murray Rothbard says taxation is merely robbery at great, colossal scale. Criminals cannot even think of such an appropriation system. It is a coercive appropriation of property or subjects of the state, of any state. Mr. Alberdi, who in the Article 14 of the Argentinian Constitution put that lock I mentioned before to the possibility that the state may chase citizens by exerting upon them excessive pressure based on taxation. Of course, you have to bear in mind that we have taxes that are constitutional as well. But it is worthwhile mentioning that the rent-based system is the origin of that genetic principle, so to speak. Principles such as the following: freedom and liberty. You are free man if you are available to make the most of your own income, to make decisions. So the idea of being free is connected with the idea of your possibility to make appropriate use of your available resources. So you can make whatever you want with the income that you receive from your own work. Of course, we have liberty and freedom on top of this list. Then we have equality. Of course, we are all equal if we are owners of the income that we receive from our own work. This is enshrined in our constitution in Argentina. Then we come brotherhood. We have brotherhood of mud, fraternity, liberty, equality, and fraternity, which is based on productivity, on sharing what we have, a virtuous society, and last but not least, the Constitution, which is a code of principles, very similar to a biological code. When you wave to the right to have this race-based system, so to speak, you have a new taxation system emerging. And you can see different scenarios. Bondage. You're a slave to the state because, of course, the state is taking more than 60% of the income received by workers. This gives rise to huge inequality because one social group is appropriating itself of any kind of public income. I mean, one part of the society is really enjoying the fruits of the work that is being done by the rest of the population. Of course, the society is progressing, the value of land is increasing, and richer people become even richer, and poor people become even poorer. And of course, this is the phenomenon that has been called as progress and poverty, and thus tension between the right and the left. The right wants equality before the law. What law? The Roman law, which is basically unfair because it allows the appropriation of rent. And of course, the right wants to maintain this barbarian system. The left doesn't know how to come out of that predicament, and they will try to, through legislation, to make things equal, accounts equals. And of course, here we have the legislative power. Savigny did not see this scenario, and yesterday Hector mentioned the 27,000 laws that were enacted in Argentina in order to sustain a barbarian system in Argentina. Of course, this has to do with a civil constitution, which is in fact a government program. We call it positive law because it is based on the imperial law institution legis ponere. He who has the law sets the laws that will govern that society. And of course, this gives rise to inequality, then to violence, from violence to civil war, and last but not least, from civil war to war among states. Of course, every day we can see people's armies with sticks and masks invade the city of Buenos Aires peacefully, saying, here we are warning you, people in the academia, do something, give us solution. You politicians, you government officials, try to find solutions to our problems. And this is the reason why I say that in Argentina, we're always living on an intermittent state of war where there are different outbreaks of violence every now and then. This phenomenon, which was very clear in France 200 years ago, because the regime was creating inequalities and it was the seeds of the French Revolution, went on declining and diminishing, being cushioned by the effects of the Industrial Revolution in the field of biology, applied sciences, hard sciences, which allowed the possibility to support more people. But globalization and societal progress has led us into a pre-revolutionary scenario, as it happened before the French Revolution. And let's take into account what Alberti mentioned, absolute daughter of the May Revolution in Argentina, absolute daughter of free work, modern wealth, escaped from the Roman law, which did not pay honor and tribute to the work because they levied taxes on citizens and they honored